Hey John,
Hey, how you doing?
doing well.
All right,
Thanks. How are you doing?
I good. I got my headphones in, and uh, you can probably hear it. There's a maintenance crew outside my building doing landscaping, so they've got a blower going right now, so it might go up and down.
Okay, all good. It's not too loud.
Oh, good.
Now
they're,
it's
they're
getting loud.
yeah, they're literally like 15 feet away. They should be done soon.
Okay, so we can maybe do today's session fairly quick. Um, did you see the talk that Thomas and I gave?
Yeah, I watched all of it. Tim, listen, I really wish I could have. I was 2 miles away the whole time. I was 2 miles away from downtown where I live. I really wish I could have been there, but I just in the last 5 weeks, um, my group of friends and I have been very conscious and COVID safe. No one has had COVID for 2 years out of like my group of friends, and in the last 5 weeks, two people got COVID.
Oh,
So something in Austin. I was COVID shy about coming downtown and seeing everybody, but I watched every as much as I could virtually. It was great. T-shirts were incredible. I wish I would have been able to come down and grab one. I thought you guys did great. It was awesome. It sounds like the conference was really good in person. How did you feel about it?
yeah. I mean, was great to see everyone. It's not a big conference. It was not a big conference, which was good. Because with that, like, I think KubeCon was there was also hashtag KubeCovid, and at least it wasn't too big here. But someone and two people in our team got COVID afterwards. So
Two people in Austin.
yes,
Oh
from our
man.
team.
Oh,
So yeah, good choice that you didn't come in person. Anyway, yeah, let's quickly talk because we might just be able to do this meeting here shorter. So Thomas has implemented the new design with the existing implementation without the new Doc Explorer, obviously.
Right.
And the next goal is to get that into a state that it can be released. It will still take a few weeks, but that's okay. And we saw that you already got quite far with your implementation.
Yeah, it's so I've really been struggling with sort of my original intention with getting involved, which was just to be able to build out like a simple component library so that other people would be able to quickly prototype and iterate over the new Doc Explorer design. Because like a lot of other people, I'm skeptical that as it's currently designed in Figma, that it's going to work. It needs tweaks, right? And so it needs to be prototyped. So my whole original thing was just going to put together a component library, right? I haven't worked for a while. This was a really good opportunity for me to get writing code again and to sort of get back into the swing of things. And then I just started having a lot of fun with I started having a really good time with it, and it grew into like an actual prototype. And as far as I'm concerned at this point, what I call Pathfinder, just because the Docs Explorer thing was getting very confusing, so I wanted to compartmentalize it. What I call Pathfinder and what is like the prototype for the new Doc Explorer, I think it's ready for people to at least start playing with. I know there's a small number of people that have seen the prototype and that have sort of played with it. I'm not sure what sort of plan needs to be put in place in order to like properly test whether or not it's going to meet the needs of version 2. But it'd be nice to formalize something. I know I told you a month ago that I was going to put together a list of design needs, and then of course I just totally got carried away. Now I have that because I was able to get so Pathfinder is in and complete. The 3 Monaco editors are in and complete. tabs is working. It's all basically in. I mean, it's rough code, right? This is not production code, but like the whole thing is there. It works. You can load up different schemas and you can explore them and you can play with it and you can decide whether or not it's going to work. And so I mean, there's loads of bugs, mostly related to Monaco and how the editors and the models are loading. And so I think it's in a place where I now can put together a list of like, okay, like here's a design need, here's a design need. There's stuff that's in Pathfinder, arguments needs to get iterated over. There's a number of design needs. And so I've got to-dos here to finally put together that list that we talked about a month ago. And I'll put that together. I saw on the GitHub discussion that Julian had a look at the prototype and was gonna think about some things. So I'm gonna formalize, what I've identified as like design needs that'll get figured out, and I'll, along with a write-up for the repository, which is something that I also need to do. I'll get that done later today. But that's where it's at for me. Like I think the prototype is, I think it's ready to be touched, right, and sort of like formally evaluated so that we can make changes to the Doc Explorer. I don't know how much time you spent with it, or if you've looked at it lately.
Yeah, I just spent a few minutes with it, clicking around a bit, and it already looks good. I think that's perfect. So what we could say is that you create this list. You can just write us in the graphical development channel in Discord. Yep. And we can, I can coordinate with Julian that he has a look there and designs the missing pieces basically. And then we can use this as a way. So if you could enable a way to add arbitrary endpoints, somewhere like in a tooltip or popover modal, yep, so that people could just add their endpoint and try it out. And then we could, with the graphical Twitter account, we could tweet about it and say, look, this is the prototype, please try it out and give us feedback here in this discussion, GitHub discussion or issue. And that way we can now already start validating the concepts, because before we even go take your implementation now and try to merge it into the main graphical repo, in the meantime, we can do all of these experimentations already. Right.
Yeah, this is just to be totally clear. None of this code is meant to get merged, right? It's simply to validate the design. I don't have any plan. I'm not making that move. That's, it's really just to validate the design, to work out just the kinks in it. Because I think that it's a radical change and it just needs to get explored. I've never built a product that had such a controversial change to such a fundamental piece of its architecture. So that's all this is. This is just really design validation. Okay. So about the like input for sharing my screen here. About the, where am I? So you can see this, right? Mm-hmm. So currently there's a little schema selector dialog down here, and you can switch between. So this is running locally, so I can select the API that's running locally on my machine. Mm-hmm. If there's an input here for people to just plug in their URLs, as long as they're open for introspection, like that would work. Yep. Yeah. So I'll just stick an input in here, and then that will work.
You will just need to make sure that they could add headers, right? If they need an authorization header.
Oh yeah, that's right. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Headers, variables, and then that's it. Really, right?
Yeah. Variables is in. I don't know. So the last time you looked at this, I don't know. I don't know how much. I've just been kind of like blazing through this, right? Like all my commits are messy, and I don't. I'm sort of lost in terms of the timeline, so I don't know what you've seen. But currently, I believe the last version you saw and the one that you shared with everybody during the conference didn't have like a variables editor. It had like the easy variables thing, right? It had like the inputs that you can select. So now they're both in. And so just as an example here, I've added, using Pathfinder, I've added a variable, can add some more, right? So it's automatically giving me, in the editor, it's giving me what it thinks I need.
Nice.
And then I can toggle down here and I also automatically get this, right? So I'm a really big fan of this interface. I think that there's little reason my own personal opinion is that I don't think anyone's ever copying and pasting out of the variable, even the current one. Like I don't think people are copying and using this code anywhere. So I wonder why.
I think they are.
Are they?
We talked about it with Lee Byron. And I think we would probably choose the JSON input as default. Taking it out of the code, in the code, I think that is a use case we need to support. Yes.
Sure. I wonder. That's a good point. Okay, so that's in. What was I going to show you? Oh, headers. So this UI is in, right, with the inputs for here. So this is close. Like I can definitely get this in. The other thing that's in is tabs is in. So, oops. Right. So that's in and that's working. And so it's like you can actually play with this. Like you can actually like move around and test it the way that I think people would normally use it. Right. It's basically it's feature parity with the existing version in terms of like just the fundamental pieces. So I can get the headers in, and then the button, and then is that it? Is that the?
Yep.
I mean, just in terms of being able to put it in front of people.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, the name Pathfinder is a bit confusing because we haven't used that anywhere else, but for this demo, it doesn't matter.
Well, if you think that it's going to confuse people, and I'll defer to you, I'm happy to just make it say docs or explore or whatever. Right? For me, when I was in the code, for me it was easier for me to move it around. Do you want me to rename it to docs or docs explorer or
I mean,
something else?
At that point in the UI, the idea was that the whole project name would be in there. So in this case, I would probably just call it graphical preview or something, because that should usually be the name of the whole project that you're looking at, or the schema. That was the intention behind it.
Okay, I get it.
So whatever the project name is, or you just keep it empty, whatever. Just Pathfinder, people will probably not know what that means.
Yeah, I want to just, it's a good point. I don't want to introduce barriers to entry, and that's probably one that's unnecessary.
Yeah. I think apart from that, it's good. And then just let me know in the graphical development channel once you're ready, and we can get this in front of people.
Okay, will do.
By the way, on the left side, you now have this icon there selected. What is that about?
This is just the icon for Pathfinder. So one thing I did here is I was having a lot of trouble with the drag bars. I know in the demo, right? So here's Thomas's demo that's up and running. The drag bars work like VS Code, like you guys planned, right? They work in like a very VS Code sort of way, where if you snap it over all the way.
Yeah.
Don't know why this is not working. Right, it snaps over. And mine, it just doesn't work like that because I was having issues with those drag bars. I think I fixed it now. I can go back and change it. So basically, when you're on the top here, you're at just the editor all by itself, which actually also runs. So here's just the inline editor. Like this can just be dropped in anywhere, and you feed it a schema and it does its thing. But the reference, like this is effectively home, right? You're on GraphiQL, and then there's Pathfinder, and then there's history. So it's set up a little bit differently. I'm not sure if that's going to be a massive. Do you think that's going to be another challenge for people to wrap their heads around?
I mean, optimally, you just implement it as we planned it, but I think it's not too bad because the idea is really, if that thing is, because you have a Boolean state, right, that you put into two icons here that are selected. The idea is that if nothing is selected, then if you would click on Pathfinder on the left again, it would just be unselected, like the same behavior as in VS Code.
Yeah. Okay.
And just the icon that we have in the design, but that is not the most important one. Whatever. It's important that we get feedback around the. So the biggest hesitation or the biggest problem might be if people have complex queries, deeply nested complex queries. How does that look like? That is something we need to figure out. Does that scale?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge, right? There's a level of simplicity around the way that the fields are collapsing now that will need to get complicated, right? If we're gonna find a way to offer incredibly complex queries that at a glance in the Explorer makes sense, because it makes sense in the editor, like if it's complex, but over here, if you're really like deeply selecting across root fields, there's just way too much over here. And yeah, you can toggle things, close them, and you can have it make sense. But in general, if you're expanded all the way down to your selections, it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something people should try out and give us their feedback on. Okay, so then you have some actionable next steps?
I do, yeah.
Perfect. Good. Yeah, so from my side, that's actually already it today. We don't have that much. Thomas won't join because he just worked on this for 3 weeks and just presented everything. So
yeah,
there's not too much to talk about. There are a bunch of smaller things happening, people merging TypeScript fixes and so on. But apart from that, I think nothing worth mentioning. Of course, it's really awesome the work that you're doing here. And that's when Thomas said the magic of open source.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is sort of right in my wheelhouse, right? This prototyping thing is, as a product engineer, it's generally like the first thing that I get involved with, right? Just to kick it off to kick things back to designers.
Yeah.
I guess that's just I think that's going to be the challenge here. Is there's really a lot of design work around this, and I don't know if the right place to do that is in Figma or if it's in some version of a prototype, right? Depending on how quickly it's going to need to get iterated. If you and Julian and everybody are still gung-ho about Figma, which I am, I think that's the right place to be the source of truth. I'm happy to work in Figma as well. I've been doing plenty of work in Figma, just sort of on my own in a copy of the Figma file that Julian's working out of before I move it into the prototype. So if there's like design production work that Julian doesn't want to do, but it needs to get done inside of Figma, I'm happy to do that work.
That sounds perfect. If you could also, once you post this in the graphical development channel, post a link to your Figma copy And
Sure.
then we can just ping Julian and ask him what he thinks, how we should do this. But I think giving you write access to the main Figma is also a good option, and you can supplement anything that is missing.
Yeah, that sounds great. There's a lot of in the current Figma file, your Figma file. There's a lot that, we talked about colors. Remember we did, like in my initial thing like a month ago, was like the colors and those alpha values and how difficult that is to work around. That's probably like the #1 barrier to entry to getting production work done in that original Figma file, because you're not working with a static palette, right? There's 40 different grays in that original Figma file because of the alpha values and what's behind it. So step one, if you want to test me out in my Figma skills, step one might be working on that palette that's in that original Figma file and reducing it to a static palette. It's probably something that Julian would need to consult pretty heavily on, right? That 10 color palette or whatever. But I would be happy to do the production work to reset it inside of the Figma file. That's going to unlock a lot more, a lot faster Figma iterations going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll bring that up when I share.
Okay, I will just okay, Ricky said they would attend the working group, but not here. So I will just write a message in the graphical development channel. I will make sure that Julian is there and that we can have a conversation with Julian together there about the colors and giving you write access. It's really awesome that you're volunteering cleaning that up. And I totally understand that based on the background and then the layered opacities that ends up with dozens and dozens of color variations. We don't want that. I know it's much more convenient for Julian to use opacities because you can do command and then the number. In Figma, it's very quick to design, but it's not very versatile. So that's something to look into. And then if you could just write an update in the graphical development channel, what you need from design, and getting your implementation to a state that other people can try it out. And then we can tweet it and send it to the graphical channel and on GitHub at that end, so we can start getting feedback on the concept. Great.
I'm going to get it done today. This time I will get it done.
All good, all good. You had a lot of progress since last time. So it's an open source project. And for that, you have really done a lot already. So perfect. Great. Okay, John, then anything else from your side?
The only other note I wanted to make about the Figma thing is that the Figma file your current Figma file is linked to the GraphCDN design library. It's linked to, or still 8, right? It's linked there. There's shared components that are happening. So I don't know how you guys feel about that.
We should separate that out.
We may want to separate that out.
Yeah.
So that could be another thing that I can get done rather quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it from me.
Okay. So we got separating out that from our company library, like colors without opacity, and then in a pretty good state.
Yeah, those are the two big sort of blockers for rapid production.
Yeah, and adding missing states from your side. Those would be the bigger.
Yeah, I mean that the adding, that's a whole that sort of goes beyond production, but that's sort of like the first big phase is just adding in non-happy path states for everything.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. then I think we can leave it at that. Happy to see all the progress. And I will also write a message with Julian. Probably first need to get him into this channel. And then feel free to write. I'm looking into that channel. Please mention me all the time, because as the GraphiQL Discord is too big, I cannot activate notifications, and I need to manually check the channel always. And
Okay,
so
I
please
got it.
mention me so I don't miss it.
Will do.
Okay, great. Thanks, John, and then have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
In the hot Texas, is it hot today?
Yeah, it's. I mean, we're in a triple-digit run. I don't think it's going to go below triple digits for a while now. It's hot.
Crazy.
It's very hot.
Crazy.
One last thing, Tim. I just wanted to say congratulations on the funding round and the rebranding. It's very well done. I thought you guys had, from what I could tell remotely, you guys had a really great presence at the conference, and I hope that you got a lot of value out of it.
Thank you. Yes, it went well. So got a few hundred applications and so on. So it was good.
Oof.
Yes, just reviewed 300 yesterday.
That doesn't sound like fun.
Oh, finding the gems sometimes is fun, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, John. Then have a good day, and thanks a lot for all the effort.
You got it.
Yeah.
Bye.